Well, hi folks. Welcome to the channel and season's greetings. I'm Lee, your old hammered host. Lynn is with me today, as usual.
Hello.
And as you probably can surmise, we're going to talk about some Christmas stuff here, specifically some cheap items that are available at the dollar store and other places before Christmas, and some of the on-sale stuff that you might find after Christmas. So if you've been watching the channel for a while, you may have noticed that sometime around Christmas, we usually try to do a holiday episode. So I think 3 years ago it was Gaslands, Escape to Christmas Town. And then last year it was Pulp Alley, Dead Rise, and Christmas Village. And then this year we did Silver Bayonet, The Lost Gingerbread Chapel. And that was posted just a few days ago. So yeah, it's kind of fun to have some Christmas diorama stuff kind of on the shelf that we can pull out for those holiday episodes. But beyond that, some of the stuff has applications for gaming year-round, and it's cheap. So with that in mind, we thought we'd show you a few things that we picked up and talk about their possible applications for tabletop wargaming, and perhaps that'll inspire you to do your own post-Christmas scavenging after the dust settles and the discounts are at their highest. And just to help us out today, we brought up Mrs. Claus, a Cadian who's visiting the Clauses for Christmas, and then Santa himself, and they'll give us a sense of the scale of some of the stuff, which often is not quite right, but because it's cheap, we make allowances. So here's an example of some Christmas ornaments. This truck here and then this tractor were both $2 normally and then 50% off after Christmas. So I think we got these for $1 a piece. And here's what it looks like when you give that truck some gray primer in preparation for painting. So in this case, it's not so much that this is an ideal piece of tabletop terrain, but it's a challenge, right? It's inexpensive, and we want to see what we can do with it. So maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but it is a creative endeavor. So we'll see what the outcome is there. But this tractor here probably has more potential because it could be some big industrial vehicle on an agricultural world, and the scale is not quite as important.
Plus, it doesn't have a present on the back.
Right, it doesn't have the problematic Christmas gifts on the back. It did have a Christmas tree, which I pulled off, but once that's gone, you just have a tractor. So we hit that with some gray primer, and that could easily be a piece of terrain because, like I said, it could just be a piece of heavy equipment and the scale is not as important. So anyway, for just $1 a piece on sale, it's a low-risk proposition. So hopefully that can be turned into something pretty cool, and if not, oh well. So this time of year, one of the things we like to stock up on are these holiday tins. We get them at Dollar Tree. They are $1 a piece. So the nice thing about these is they are magnet friendly. So if you have magnetized models, they will stick right in there. So these tins come in a variety of sizes. Unfortunately, the longer ones that we have here have a crazy bow on them. So I remove that. And usually I will separate the top and use it for something else. And then the bottom part I use for storage. So yeah, if you don't mind the holiday color scheme, this is a good way to keep the units organized, and then they fit right in our little shelf here. So pretty convenient and cheap. So any woodland scenario is going to need trees, right? So obviously you can make your own trees. You can buy trees that are prefabricated for wargaming. You can get trees from the model railroading store, or one of the cheapest options is to get trees from Christmas dioramas. So this pack here came from the Dollar Tree. I think it was $1, right? So you get 2 trees, 50 cents a piece. But an even cheaper option, we got this pack of trees from Walmart last year, I think on December 27th. I checked the tape. And so this is $8 normally. It was 50% off. So that is crazy cheap, 16 trees for $4. But the downside is these trees are going to shed that white stuff like crazy. So probably have to brush them off, shake them off outside, and give them a good douse of clear coat to seal all that stuff on there. But still, that's a pretty good bargain. So here's examples of other trees. These are just the individual trees they sell in the Christmas aisle. This one is from several years ago. You can see we've already glued it down on a base, but I found a cheaper alternative. If you have a bunch of cheap trees, then you should have a bunch of cheap bases to match. So this is a pack of 125 coasters that I got on Amazon for like $14. And these are thick enough that I could glue some trees on there, put some flock on there, and that would be fine. And if we lost a few from wear and tear over the years, that's okay because it didn't cost much to begin with. So 125 coasters should last us quite a long time. And again, if you have trees that are maybe a little too Christmassy, I've just taken a can of cheap hunter green paint and sprayed them down, and they're perfectly fine. And then you can put flock on them or whatever if you want to. Here's a couple of bridges. I think we got these at Michael's, if I remember, a couple of years ago. So they were originally this white color, so we saved one for Christmas scenarios. And then just to experiment, I pulled off the trees. I'll put some wood filler in there, but I sprayed this one brown to see what it would look like as a regular bridge. So I think these were $4 or $5 a piece regularly, and then 50% off after Christmas. And so yeah, for a couple of bucks and a little bit of paint, and I'll put some weathering on it, this is a pretty good wooden bridge. So not too shabby. Then we have a bunch of houses. Now these smaller ones here are from the Dollar Tree. These were $1 a piece. So obviously these are too small for 28 millimeter. But if we ever played a 15 millimeter game, or even a game of Gaslands, and we needed some buildings, with a little bit of paint and some shading, these might work out well. So they were cheap. I have them in reserve, and someday we'll pull them out and attack them with spray cans and dry brushes and, you know, all that stuff, and see what we can make out of them. So if not, I have on occasion purchased some things that I thought I might use for a future project. And then after a while, maybe I didn't. And I thought, well, it's time to clear off the shelf. We try to take that stuff, especially when it's new, to the local thrift store. We have a local food bank that funds its operation with a thrift store. And if we have new goods, like this year, I had a bunch of toy soldier kits, you know, plastic army men that we were going to pilfer for terrain. And I said, well, I'm going to keep half of them, and the other half we will take to the thrift store so that some people can, you know, have something affordable for Christmas. And so I hope that landed in the right hands. But that would be the same for these. If we didn't use them, I would bundle them up prior to the holidays next year or whenever and take them in. And then, you know, hopefully someone can use them for decoration. So that is always the hope, that it lands somewhere where people can use it. But for now, they were only $1 a piece, and I thought, well, yeah, maybe there's some 15 millimeter terrain in there, perhaps. So these structures here are gift boxes. We got these from the Dollar Tree for $1 a piece, and they're pretty sturdy for what they are. They have decorations on them. And we have used some of these in our holiday special videos, but I was thinking I could take some of these, shorten them up, maybe cut them down a few inches, and use them for Dark Age buildings or things like that. So we would maybe chop it down a few inches, and then put popsicle sticks or tamale sticks on the outside and weather them, and we would have a pretty good structure there. So they are more or less a framework for making future buildings, and again, only $1 a piece. Now these pop-up buildings here are a little bit further out of scale, but they were really cheap. I think we got some at Walmart the week after Christmas for about 70 to 80% off, so only about $1 a piece. You know, some of this stuff, if you were to chop off a wall and kind of have a ruined building, it doesn't look that dissimilar to some of the Warhammer 40K pop-up terrain stuff I've been seeing offered. There's some kind of cardstock terrain pieces that sort of pop up when you unfold them, and you could make something pretty similar to that by chopping out walls creatively and throwing some paint on there if you were so inclined. Like I said earlier, it's not that this is the most practical way to do stuff. It's a creative challenge to see if you can make something out of it. So if that kind of thing appeals to you and you like the price point, that might be something to keep in mind. And if nothing else, you could always make terrain and just donate it to your local gaming club, and they can put it on the shelf and other people can use it. And if it doesn't look 100% perfect, that's probably okay. This water tower here falls under the category of I'm not exactly sure why I got it. I purchased it, and then when I opened up the box, I found it's kind of a solid piece. There's some ceramic down here, and the metal is kind of embedded into it. So it's not like you can just pull it apart and steal the ladders and stuff. But these were $4 a piece on sale. I got a couple of them, and my plan is to take one of them and put a scary face on him. I'm not quite sure how yet, and use him for some sort of post-apocalyptic water tower.
But he does work good for a Christmas scenario.
Yeah, they definitely do. So we'll save one for Christmas and then desecrate the other one, and, you know, just to go nuts. And if it gets destroyed, oh well. There's always going to be some casualties in creative endeavors. So if you've ever strolled down the Christmas diorama section at Walmart or some other store, you might recognize this brick material. It comes in a roll like this. I think we paid $1.50, 50% off the day after Christmas, so that's not too bad. So my intention is to eventually cut this up into smaller pieces, glue it to MDF or cardstock, and then have little sections of brick walkway that we can move around where we need them. A couple of years ago, we picked up this larger roll. This is like 18 by 36. And so we could cut that into squares and make enough squares to have a pretty good city center. So there's this roll here. I think this was 50% off, so we paid about 12 bucks for it. So this is a pretty sturdy piece of vinyl here, and what I'm thinking is I could pick up some of those self-adhesive linoleum tiles and use the adhesive side to just glue this down. So we could cut this into squares and then stick it on the self-adhesive flooring tiles, and we would have brick tiles that we could move around to create a city center or something like that. Yeah, next time we're at Home Depot, we should check out some of those self-adhesive tiles. They're not that expensive, and they might just stick right to this thing, or we could put on some industrial adhesive, but if it stuck to the self-adhesive tiles, that would be great. All right, folks, that's a wrap on our festive holiday hobby vlog. If you're a scrounger like me, maybe there's some ideas in here that might appeal to your creative sensibilities and send you out searching for some discount Wargaming terrain. But yeah, the hunt is kind of fun, and even if you don't end up doing anything with it, the downside is pretty small because they don't cost much. So if you spend a couple of bucks here or there, maybe you get a couple pieces of terrain out of it. Maybe you don't. It could always be donated back to your local school or thrift store or whatever for the holidays next year. So yeah, everybody wins. All right, folks, as always, thanks very much for stopping by. We hope you enjoyed today's video, and we're going to work on some other stuff. I don't know if we'll see you again before Christmas or not. We'll try our best. But if we don't, have a great holiday season. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you next time.
See you soon.